name is Christine, aka Crafty Potential, and I'm a crafter for Tonic Studios, and today I'll be making the Buried Treasure gift box for you. So I thought I'd start by running through all of the pieces that we're going to need to create this beautiful buried treasure gift box. So for the lid of the treasure chest, we're going to need one of this piece. We're also going to need 4 of these pieces, which are the ends, 2 of which I have covered in red liner tape. I find this is really easy to stick all of the glue tabs around to get the curvature. So 4 of those, 2 with red liner tape on the back. 2 of these pieces here that have all of the tabs on the end of them which curve around those pieces. And then also for the lid you're going to need these 2 pieces, I should say, here, which are part of the closure mechanism of the lid to help it stay shut. I did notice that my instructions say that you only need 1 of these, but actually you do need 2 of these, one for either side of the front top lip of the treasure chest. So you need all of that for the lid of the treasure chest. Then for the main portion of the treasure chest, you need 4 of these pieces. They're actually going to be up this way, and these are going to be the 4 corners of the treasure chest, and these create a nice support on the 4 bottom corners of the chest as well. So you could add some kind of foot element to the chest too, and it would be supported really nicely on these double sort of stacked corners. So those are the corner pieces. Then you're going to need 1 of this rectangle, which becomes the base of your chest, plus 2 more of those rectangles which become the front and back of your chest as well. So you've got 1 for the base, 1 for the front and 1 for the back, and that creates the start of the main portion of the bottom of the chest. Plus, to decorate the front and back of your treasure chest, you need to cut these pieces here. These are the large ones. They're kind of like planks to go on the side of your treasure chest. You can keep them all the same colour, you can do a fun rainbow colour, you can pick analogous colours on the colour wheel just to create a different kind of fun effect, and you could just do a stripy effect rather than mixing up different colours as well. But you're going to need 4 of these per side. So you're going to need 8 of these in total to give you enough to cover both sides, the front and the back of your treasure chest. And you might be thinking, you've told us about the bottom and the front and back, but where are the sides of our treasure chest? Well, there is another piece in the die set which is called the medium plank kind of piece, and this actually gives you the sides of your treasure chest. So you're going to need 8 of them in total, 4 for one side, 4 for the other side, and these actually have an extra glue tab on them. So we have the same kind of planks as the large piece we were just looking at, but we also have a skinny little glue tab on here as well, and the idea is that these ones actually just all stick together by those little skinny glue tabs, and then when you get to the bottom, this last little skinny glue tab that is left actually helps hold the bottom of the treasure chest in place as well. So for the sides of your treasure chest, you're going to need 4 on one side and 4 on the other side of those. And then once you've put the whole chest together, you're going to need these strengthening pieces, and you need 2 of each of them. So you have a slightly larger one and a slightly smaller one, and these actually go on the bottom edges of your chest. So on the short side you need these pieces, and on the long side you need these 2 pieces, just to give that final bit of security, because there is no glue tab to attach that part. They're mostly just attached by these portions on the corner, so these actually fit perfectly in between 2 of these corners, and that curved portion actually curves perfectly onto the bottom of the chest around these corner pieces as well. Then there's 2 more bits that we need. We need 1 of these, which actually goes on the front of your treasure chest and sort of works alongside these 2 smaller pieces that go on the lid of your treasure chest, and they kind of lock in together to create the front side of your treasure chest. You'll see that when we get to it. And then the final sort of more decorative piece really is we've got planks everywhere else on the chest, but we need something to decorate the actual lid portion of the treasure chest. So you have a smaller one of this little plank piece, and you'll need 7 of those to create your planked effect going around the centre of the top of the lid of your treasure chest. So those are all of the pieces that we're going to need for this construction. So I quite like to start with the sides of this treasure chest. So I've got 4 for one side, like so, and I've got 4 for the other side, and I've just kind of changed up the order of these. I actually cut 9 of the side panels, even though you only need 8 of them, because I was cutting 3 from one purple, 3 from one pink, and 3 from a lighter purple. I just decided to omit one of the lighter purples, but I was just doing a random effect for this chest. So, to build these side panels of your chest, all you want to do is put a little bit of glue along that skinnier glue tab, and then we're just sticking the next panel right up against it. So all of these score lines that you see on the planks aren't actually fold lines, they are just like a scored detail, and if you did do these all out of the same colour, it would just look like skinnier planks rather than wider planks of 2 planks together. So I'm just going to use my glue to attach all of these together in a nice straight format, and you can also use the lines on your glass cutting mat to help you get a nice straight end to this. So you can line up the long side against the score line above the glue tab, but if you want to make sure the ends are butted up nicely, you can also use one of the vertical lines on your glass mat to help you get the perfect alignment. Those ends will actually be covered, so if you do accidentally make a mistake and one's slightly overhanging on one end, it doesn't actually matter, because those corner pieces will be covering it, so you won't see it in the final treasure chest build. So I'm just going to build both of these sides in exactly the same way, just adding our glue onto this skinny glue tab and then sticking the next plank piece into position. Okay, so there we have our 2 short sides of our treasure chest in our stripy designs using pinks and purples. Now, for creating both of my other treasure chests, I actually did the other side panels differently to what the instructions tell you. So you have your 4 planks that build up the other sides of your treasure chest. I think I might switch the order like that for this one. And you actually stick these individually onto these rectangles as you're kind of building the treasure chest, because one of these you're going to hide a glue tab with these planks, and the other one you will just be sticking these straight onto this rectangle. However, the first chest I decided to make, I wanted all of the panels to be stuck together so that I could emboss them and get an embossed design on all of the panels. So this method came in handy for this. Plus, for the other treasure chests that I've done, I did a whole rainbow, and I wanted the rainbow to be continuous like this around the whole box, and then repeat one colour and go back in the opposite direction around the box. So I didn't want to get confused or have to fully remember when I got to sticking these panels on the front or these panels on the back which way they needed to go in case I did it wrong. So this method came in really, really handy for this. I don't technically need to do it for this one because I'm just using these in random orders, but if you want to do something like either of those first 2 and you want your planks to be already ready, this is a great way of being able to do it, especially for the lid of the treasure chest. I found it really helpful for the lid, but I'll show you it for the side panels as well, and I'll show you it sped up for the rest of the pieces. But basically, you just want some sellotape. You want to take a little piece of your sellotape, you want to stick your first plank just on the end of one of those side bits. I think you can just about see the tape there. Then do what we were saying before, use one of your lines on your glass mat to line up the end here, and then take the next plank and stick this next to it, using the tape to secure it into position. Then, should I really change up the order? Yeah, I'm going to really change it up. I'm going to go this one next. And then we'll do the pink one. And then once we've got them all secured initially, we can flip this over and secure with some more tape. and then we can trim off the excess as well. So this is kind of redundant for one of the panels, but it does help if you are trying to get your panels in a specific order and you don't want to have to really have to remember which way you wanted them to go, or if you want to do something a bit different and give an embossed design like I have on this one. This means that you can emboss them all in one go through your folder, and the pattern is actually going to line up over the whole thing. So even though this is in planks, I embossed it with a plank embossing folder, but it's continuous, so it kind of hides these planks but gives the embossed planks on there. So it's quite a different, nice kind of technique to do for a 3D project like this. So that is how I got around doing those two methods, and I thought I would just show it to you with this one as well, but it's not necessarily for this random colourway that I'm doing. So we've now got these pieces ready for later on in the construction, and it just means you don't have to worry about what order your stripes are going in if you have got a specific pattern. So we'll leave those all off to one side. Now, the next part that I have been creating has been the lid of the treasure chest. I found it's quite a nice one to start with next, because you can see something really coming together and you can leave it to dry really nicely whilst you're working on the rest of the treasure chest. So for this, you need two of this piece here, and you just want to fold all of your glue tabs over along that score line that's in there. Then take your glide folder and burnish those down nicely, and then flip them back out again and take your glide folder and kind of curve it in your hand. So just use the palm of your hand as like a soft place to curve it, to give you the kind of arches of the top of the treasure chest. I can do this one a little bit more as well. So we've got two kind of arch shapes there, and they're going to go along with these pieces here as well. So we're now going to take the two that we have added our red liner tape onto, and we're going to stick these onto here. So we're putting all of those little glue tab teeth onto the side that has the glue, and once that is in place we'll be adding a second one over the top to hide all of that adhesive. So it doesn't matter if you've got excess adhesive showing, however you decide to do this, whether you do it with tape or with glue. You can also dry fit this into position to sort of show to yourself that we're starting at one of these notches. So the panel actually has a notch in, and that is where you're putting the first glue tab. You're lining it up with that notch as you start, and that's how you know where you are as you're going around. So once you've got your liner removed, you can place this up to there, press the first glue tab in place, and then just ease this whole panel round in a curve, pressing those glue tabs into the adhesive as you go round to get a nice neat curve for the top of your treasure chest. These are like the two side pieces, and then we'll have a piece coming between them later on. So now we've got that nicely into position, we can take our glue and add it all over the back of one of the other pieces. And then position this directly over the top to sandwich in all those glue tabs and hide any of the workings of how we've put this together. So we can press that nice and firmly into position, like so, and then we can repeat this exact same process. Okay, so now we've got both sides of the top of our treasure chest done, we can actually bring this large piece into play, and we want to curve this. So this is actually going to be the hinge of how the lid attaches to the base of our treasure chest, and this is going to become domed, and it's going to go in between both of these pieces. So to curve this, again, you want your glide folder or bone folder, whatever you have, to curve it, give it a nice curvature. Doesn't matter if you curve it too much, you just need to give it a really good curve so that it's going to follow the archway really nicely. Okay, so we've got a lovely curve on that. We can check that that is going to go in nicely, and this fits perfectly right up to this cut line over here, and then the score line should fit perfectly up to the other side. That way you know you've pressed it all the way into that curvature there. And my tips for adhering this, I have found taking some red liner tape, whichever width you have in your stash, and putting it down the edges of this panel. So I was actually doing this kind of a width and a 6mm as well to kind of give me more adhesion, because you've actually got this much space to be able to put your red liner tape, so you can kind of go with whatever combination of widths that you have. And we'll do another piece there. Then I have been taking the backing paper off of this, taking my glue and covering this. So this just gives it a nice bit of manoeuvrability so that red liner tape isn't going to instantly stick, and we can get it into the curved position perfectly. But when you hold this up to here, I haven't got red liner tape right up to this inside edge, so I've also been turning this over and putting a line of glue on this inside edge. It doesn't matter if we've got extra glue that's going to overlap this glue, we just want to make sure that there's a nice lot of adhesive there to hold all of these pieces in place. Then we can curve this piece up and bring this side piece into position, lining it up with the cut line on that side. Oops, I slid it then. Lining it up with the cut line on that side, pinching it into place, and then pushing the curved piece, making sure it's butting right up against the inside here, so you can look from the inside to double check that, and curving it so it goes right up inside this archway piece. And you'll know when you've got it right, because when you get to the other side it will line up perfectly with the score line on this glue tab here as well. And then you just want to keep pinching that so that it's going to stay really nice and well stuck. We can also use some magnets a little bit later to hold this into position, because we're going to need to leave some other bits and pieces to dry with magnets on as well, so that it's going to be really nice and strongly bonded. So we can now repeat the same thing on the other side of this. So now we've got the main lid portion created for our treasure chest, we can actually put these pieces on now as well. And to put these on, you basically want them to sort of hang like this underneath the top lip of the front of the treasure chest, and this is sort of how the lid kind of stays into position when the chest is closed. So how I was doing this is I was taking some 6mm red liner tape, but I'm hanging it off the end, so only about 5mm are actually on this little tab. Then I was snipping off the excess that's overhanging on the ends, taking this and then just folding over the extra there, and then you can just take this and slide it up to where you've put your adhesive on there. And then a little wooden peg does actually fit to be able to hold that, just to make sure it's going to stay nicely stuck and not pop off as we're doing other bits and pieces. And we can do the same on this side as well. Oh, that's a bit wonky. Like so. Oh, and peg this one into place, and then we are actually going to move on to the side panels in a second. So while this is kind of sitting here by itself, let's take some of our magnets, just any like strong little thin ones you might use for your memory books that you may have lying around before you finished creating them and stuff. And we can actually just use these in a few different places on both sides just to sort of really bond with the glue and the tape and everything on all of these curves. It doesn't necessarily need it at this point. It's kind of later when I add a decorative trim piece on here, but it's quite nice just to, you know that that's going to be drying really nice and strongly and everything's going to be staying in position. So we can leave that to one side to dry. So the next step is to work with these corner pieces and our two shorter sides. So remember, we've already put all of our pieces together, but these are actually the only ones that the instructions tell you to put together like this because you have the glue tabs on there. But for us, it is our two shorter sort of side panels that we have created. And the way these go together is you have one extra glue tab, and this is the bottom edge. So now you've got that extra one there, you want to fold that over and burnish that down nicely on both of them. And then this one is going towards the bottom when we put this together, and the bottom of these pieces are these two curves because they actually go together and they give you the right angle corners of your treasure chest, but they also give you a nice strong footing for the bottom of your chest as well. So it will sit together like this, and we're going to stick these into position so that that bottom glue tab will tuck nicely underneath there at the sides. And again, the way I was doing this is combining red liner tape and glue just to make sure it's really nice and strong. So I was going with 6mm red liner tape down these two sides, like so. Then removing the backing, taking our corner, knowing that I want the glue on the back of this piece here, and then taking our glue and putting it all over the back of this. So we're going to get a nice strong bond there. And then lining this up, checking that we're in the right place on the inside there. Like so. And we're now going to put one on each side of these two shorter panels. Okay, so now we're leaving these two to dry. We can bring in one of these rectangles. This one's going to be the back of our treasure chest, and at this point we can take these pegs off that were holding this, and we can remove all of these magnets because they've done their job holding things into position. We will be needing these again, but they've done their job for now. So we now want to attach the back of our treasure chest onto here. Now normally we would go like this and stick it on top of that glue tab, but because we are adding these planks onto here, we actually want to stick it on the front of this panel. So we want to stick this glue tab on the front of the panel, because then when we put this into position, we're sandwiching the glue tab in between, so we're going to get a nice strong bond at this hinge of the treasure chest. So I was just running a strip of red liner tape across the back there. Doesn't matter if there's anything overhanging this glue tab because this is going to cover it. And then we can just add this into position. So I'm just going to hold this up together, line it up to the inside like so, and then press that firmly into place. Then I've added red liner tape on the back of this planked panel that we created earlier, but again, if you're following Tonic's instructions, you're just then sticking all of your planks individually onto this panel to cover this little glue tab here. But now, because we did it earlier, we've got a nice panel that we can just line up perfectly over the top of this rectangle, like so. So we've now got the back planks of our treasure chest into position. So now we've got this into place, we need to start building the rest of the treasure chest. So the next step is actually to take another of these rectangles and to start sticking it into place with the glue tab that is on the end of this short side panel that we just created. And I have found the easiest way to do this is to run glue along that short glue tab like so, and run it along this glue tab here. The first one I did these separately, but the second one I found it much easier to have already added glue onto those ones first. So now we're going to slide this base piece in so that it's going to stick onto that skinny glue tab there, and then we can fold those 2 quarter circle glue tabs upwards like so, and then we can press the skinny glue tab into place and those quarter glue tabs as well, and then we can just add some more adhesive to the other 2 quarter glue tabs, and these fold around and completely cover the previous ones to give you a really strong corner. So if you had any of those metal feet, or maybe you wanted to glue some beads on just to give nice little feet to the bottom of your treasure chest, you can do that as well, and you've got nice strong little corners there to put those on. So there we've got the first side, and then we want to repeat this on the other side. So we're going to flip this glue tab up like so, put our glue along there, and then add it onto these quarter glue tabs as well, and then take the other side and slide it into position, pressing those quarter glue tabs up from underneath. Just keep pre-folding things and creasing them to make sure that they're all coming together in the right way, and then we can fold these other 2 glue tabs backwards, add our glue onto those, and pull these round as well. Like so, and you can really see the treasure chest coming together now. So the next step is coming back to the lid and back of our treasure chest that we've created, and we want to adhere this into position in exactly the same way. So 6mm red liner tape down these 2 sides, we can do a dry fit to make sure this is going to fit in really nicely and slot in really well. If you do find that maybe you've stuck your panels a little bit wonky, your planks on there, you know, it's not quite lining up perfectly, you have got a little bit of leeway, and you could trim off a tiny bit off the bottom here, because we are going to cover this little join here later on as well. So you can sort of play around with fitting things in really nice and snugly, but this is going to go in really well. So we're going to stick this in the same way as before. So we're now going to remove the red liner tape off both sides of that, take our glue and add our glue on the edges mostly of these 2 tabs here, like so, and then we're going to slot this in. So you can kind of hold it whichever way round you feel more comfortable, and you can slot that right down to the bottom, push it right into those bottom corners, and then press the 2 corner panels into position, lining that up like so. So we've now got the back of our treasure chest joined into position. Now, because we have this hinge on this side, it's quite nice to take your magnets again, just to sort of hold along here and make sure that this is going to get a really nice, secure, strong bond all the way along this back edge here. So you can just put a few of your magnets on there just to hold it into position. And at this point we can take these small pieces here. Now you can cut them out of whatever colour you want to. Because I'm going for a really random effect on this treasure chest, I thought I would go with cutting them from the purple colour, but on the other 2 that I've created I cut them from the same colour as the corner panels that I had cut, so that everything sort of went together, but you can do it whichever way you want to. So I've got this one to go on this side here. And it's just going to go into position like so. We're going to do one along the back edge as well to secure that, and also in this case it's bringing in that colour again. So there were 2 planks of the pink on this side, but now we're bringing in that darker purple colour to the bottom as well. So it's quite nice to mix and match these pieces to give a completely different sort of effect. So we can put that one into place, and we can press from the inside to get a good strong bond, and then we've got the other short one to do on this side as well. Okay, then the final part of the main construction is going to be to add our front panel of our treasure chest. Now, again, the instructions say add your planks straight onto this rectangle, which is definitely, you know, the perfect way to do it, but because we prepared our planks earlier, all we have to do is just take off our red liner tape that we've put on the back of these panels and add all of our planks in one go. But either way is fine if you do your planks separately or all in one go, whichever way you want to do it. And we'll just line this up on that rectangle, and having it on the rectangle just makes it nice and strong and sturdy as well. And then we can dry fit this into place and decide, like, because these planks are randomly stripy, do I want the purple at the top or the bottom? Because I'm going to put this purple piece on, which is going to cover more of the pink, so maybe I just want to do it this way round, and then I'll have purple on purple, so I'm not adding in more purple. Yeah, I think I like it that way round. Although I am going to be adding this piece on the front anyway, which is going to add more purple. So to be honest, it doesn't really matter which way up I do this one. But we're going to add this in exactly the same way. And actually we can double check this is going to fit in nicely. I feel like maybe I do want to trim off a slight sliver just so it's not hanging over the top up here. So you can use your paper trimmer or you can use your long bladed pair of scissors. But I'm just going to trim a tiny little bit off the end there, literally a millimetre or 2, just so that when we put this in, yeah, it's going to fit in a little bit nicer, and it doesn't matter about this edge because it's going to get covered. So we can put red liner tape on the 2 ends of this. And then put our glue on the insides here. You might want to go back to just using your normal bottle of glue rather than the precision press. You can just about get it in there though. Okay, and then we'll slide this down into position and press these sides firmly into place, wiping away any excess glue. Okay, and then we've got this fine little panel to go on the front here. Whoops. Like so. Just hides that front seam and strengthens this because there's no bottom glue tab just there. So we've got that on there now. Then if you have a look at when the lid closes, these 2 end pieces go inside the treasure chest, and then these 2 little pieces also tuck inside the treasure chest, and that's how it closes. But to give you somewhere on the front to be able to put your padlock and things, you can actually put this piece right in the front position just there. So we're just going to, I think, red liner and glue for this. If we add a strip across the bottom there, add a little bit of glue, and then stick this just here. We've got a nice place to add our lock onto in a minute. And then the only other element that's like purely decorative on here is to add our planks going across the top. You can definitely leave it plain, but because we have the planks everywhere else, it's quite nice to add a row of the planks going across the top of the treasure chest as well. And I think I do like it that way round with the light purple at the front. So this is the one that we already put together with our tape earlier, and I have put red liner tape all over this as well. And depending, obviously, when you're sticking these on, how close you butt them up together. Sometimes you may find there's a little bit of an overhang one side. This one's actually perfect this time. But yeah, you can, obviously the instructions tell you to stick these one at a time, but I actually found adding them onto that sellotape allows you to then like bend it and check the positioning and everything if you like it, and the colourways and things, and which way round maybe you want them. So I really like doing it this way, but you can do it whichever way you like. And we can just pull this round and stick it into position. Now, you can just leave it like this. However, because all of these side pieces, all of the ends of the planks are kind of enclosed, I felt like it would look nicer on this top panel if these ends were enclosed as well. So to achieve this same effect, I have actually just cut 2 skinny strips of the same glitter cardstock that I used to decorate the corners, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick them going over the join, so it kind of gives that look of, in this one in particular, like the metal strapping that could be around a treasure chest to hold all of the planks in place if it was really made of wood. So it kind of gives that sort of look to the chest as well, and it just adds a little extra decoration, but it's so simple to do. Just literally cutting a random skinny width on your guillotine. I've used a 3mm piece of red liner tape on the back, so this is probably about 5mm in width, seeing as the 3mm fits nicely on there. And then we can just chop off the end, so we've got a nice straight end on there. Start at the front of the chest. Remove the backing from the red liner tape. And I think I might use a little bit of glue on this as well. Then get this into position right at the front, pinch it into place, pull it around the top of the treasure chest, round to the back. If you cut it long enough, you could do a strap that goes all the way down to the bottom, but I have been ending mine just at the hinge of the treasure chest lid just there. So we can put that into place, and this is the next point where you might want your magnets to come into play, because they can just easily hold this sort of like strapping decorative piece into place so that it's definitely going to stay stuck nicely. Why is that not going across? There we go. So we can do maybe one on that end, one on this end, and one in the middle, just to make sure it's held nicely as the glue dries. And then we can repeat the same on the other side, using a bit of glue again as well. And then starting at the front, and pulling this all the way around, double checking I didn't pull it too far, and then snipping it off at the back hinge just there. And we can leave those 2 elements to dry. And we've got a few extra dies in the die set for some final decorative details that we can add onto here. So if we close the lid how it's meant to close by tucking those 2 smaller tabs in, we can add our sort of detail piece on the front plus our little padlock onto here as well. So we'll just use a little bit of glue to add those. You can pick whichever metallic colour you want to use. I've gone with gold for this one, but so I think silver would work very nicely too. If you want to make the aperture behind the padlock look solid, you can just take a little scrap of one of your darker colours in your design, cut a little rectangle, add some glue behind the keyhole, place that into position, and then snip off any excess, and then you've just got a solid keyhole then. Otherwise you can kind of see the stripes through it, it doesn't look quite right. So we can add that on as well with some more glue. Just add a little padlock on like so. Then you've also got hinges to add onto the back, and they have like this triple fold line down the centre. So I was actually folding them in both directions, and if you fold it over and then sort of like pull it towards you and then push it away from you, you kind of end up folding all of those fold lines as well. And if you do it in both directions, they're going to be nice and manoeuvrable to go on the back of the chest, because they're kind of going to have to go from being more like this to then bending backwards when the lid opens. That's why you've got that multiple fold line on there. But I just found folding it on any of the lines, and then just if you just push away from you and then pull towards you, it kind of folds all of those other lines. You'll see what I mean when you do it yourself, but that's how you kind of get all of them to be nicely folded on there. And then you can just stick those to the back of your treasure chest. Now I have found that you're going to want to leave these to dry with magnets on them as well, so I will do that off camera, but I can show you the hinges on both of these as well. If you leave them to dry with magnets on, they do dry really nicely in position and they work perfectly when you open and close. Obviously they're not functional hinges because you already have a hinge there, but they're more decorative hinges, and you could put them wherever you want. I did actually put mine both on the end, but you could do it more there so it covers the join of where we've put that extra detailing on there as well, wherever you want to put them really. And then for this one, I kind of wanted to make this treasure chest into like a mermaid treasure chest. So I've cut a bunch of the seashells from just some beautiful satin mirror card, and I feel like they go really nicely just to add a little extra detail on here. So I'm going to use a few of them flat and then a few of them with a little bit of 3D foam on them as well, just to add these on in a couple of different clusters in different areas. So I've just added a few different clusters of the seashells. I've put one here, a cluster of 3 there, cluster of 3 there, cluster of 3 here, and then one on each side as well, just to add some beautiful decoration with those gorgeous little seashells on there as well. So my only step now is to add the hinges, but I'll do that off camera just because it takes a while for them to dry and stay in position. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video looking at the Buried Treasure gift box from Tonic Studios. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!